It's a pleasure to be here. Give me 1 second while I set this computer up. Okay, good morning. So, as you mentioned, I'm Antonio Blake. I have my parents here and my aunt that is taking the place of my grandmother, she says. My grandmother's no longer here, but she always supports me, and I'm just grateful to be here. Grateful for you all thinking of me when you had this event. So I made some tweaks to the PowerPoint, so don't worry about it. I got the new tweaks here. But I saw your theme was team building. So I titled this How I Found My Way, and sometimes it takes a team to find your way. So nobody can get there alone. It takes a village, so make sure you have the right people around your team. So I'm gonna start off with an icebreaker. If you see on the screen, I'll read it off to you. Just something to get us involved. So I'll just say these slow. If you've ever been picked last for a team, you can stand up. If you've ever set a goal this year and you've actually hit it, you can stand up. If you ever felt like the different one in the room, you can stand up. If you already know exactly what you want to be or have no clue at all, you can stand up. And lastly, if someone you loved passed away, you can stand up. So I just want y'all to look around and realize that you are not by yourself. Okay, you can sit down, So, next slide. Before I got to ESPN, and I was sitting in rooms just like you guys, listening to people come in and talk, I found this picture in my mama's house, so I was like, I gotta add this in there. But my dad used to cut my hair, by the way, so I was always clean. But I was sitting in rooms like this. Had people come in and talk to me, hey, you can do anything you put your mind to, but it's like, I need to see it, and now that I've seen it, I can come back and, show you guys what I've done and how to get there. So, just a kid from Smithfield, North Carolina, with big dreams, always active in my community, honor student, stuff like that. So I played 3 sports in high school. I played the drums from 5 years old, but that's how I paid my bills in high school and college. 14 years old, couldn't drive. Parents would have to take me to church or different places where I had to play the drums, and that's how I was afforded to pay my bills. I had 3 internships in college and undergrad and grad school that opened doors to where I could go, and I'm still going. And ironically, I had one stint at the funeral home during COVID where it changed my perspective on how to communicate with people in distress and just having empathy. When you don't have anything else to say, just being there for people. So same hallways as you, same homework. Some of the same words about fitting in, but everything changed. It wasn't just about talent, it's about the decisions I made in the hard moments. So every story has a starting point. We could be up here all day talking about each other's life stories, but for me, I wanted to start in 7th grade. Seems like most of you guys are in middle school, high school, so 7th grade was a real year that changed my life. I lost my grandfather to cancer. He had lung cancer, colon cancer, and brain cancer. So being 12 years old, I remember, you see the picture of him carrying me, as a baby. At 12 years old, he wasn't able to walk anymore when I was 12, so I had to carry him. So it's just crazy to see how these little moments can change your life forever. And honestly, if I didn't go through that, I would be where I am today. I would just say, whenever you grieve, because I don't know if you have already, but at some point you're going to. That's just part of life. I would just say, if someone in your life that's so important that can be taken away, what are you going to do with the time you have? So that's just something to think about. We all have the birth date. We don't know when we're going to leave here, but what you do in the middle is the biggest part about it. So a little bit more about me, about staying focused, staying driven. 3 sports, 1 set of drumsticks. That's my title for this. I was a scholar athlete. I had a 3.9 GPA in high school, and I had a 3.8 in college and undergrad. I was a musician. I started playing the drums at 5. I played the violin. That was short-lived, but I played it. But drums was my thing. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to be on time. It taught me how to be in any room. And people, I don't know if you've seen Drumline, but it's like you're the heart of the church at that point. So when you don't have a drummer there, they looking around like,
where's the beat?
So that was a big thing for me, is keeping the beat and just being the good kid. Grades, church, practice, community service, the repeat, just staying out of trouble on purpose. Here's the twist: from the outside looking in, this kid had everything together. But hold that thought, it matters later. So, in order to get to that point of everything, or get to this point, you have to have intentional goals. So, I took the liberty of, they taught us this in middle school when I was in 7th grade, and I still, stick to it, of having SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And heavy on the time-bound because, like I said, life is short. Things are changing every day, so make sure you put a time on your. We all have big goals. My big goal was to get to ESPN, but it was the small, tiny goals that I had along the way that got me there. So, next, I want you guys to, but if you have a phone or a piece of notebook paper, I want you to write one goal in one of these categories. So whether it's academic, whether you want to have one grade, one class or habit you want to level up this semester, a personal goal, a skill, hobby, or health goal that you want to reach that's just for you and only you, or a character goal, how you want to treat people even on your worst day. So I give you about a minute and a half to write that down. And we're starting now.
Everybody have something they can write on or put it in? You have your phone?
And I'll tell you one of mine when we're done.
Anybody need something to write?
This is for the adults too.
Oh. Yeah, let's see.
Give me the point again. You said adults.
So, you never too old to learn. So if you have an academic goal that you want to achieve this year, a personal goal, whether it's skill or a hobby or a health goal, or a character goal, like do you want to develop of how you're treating people every day, like paying it forward, stuff like that. So just write one goal down for one of these categories. We have about 30 more seconds. Okay. I'll need 2 volunteers to share. So one from this side and one from this side. Whoever wants to go first. All right, we'll go here. So what's one of your goals?
My only goal that I wrote down was to spend wisely, whether it's money, time, or energy.
That's a good one.
That's good.
I need that one.
All right, somebody over here.
I'll go. So my academic goal is continue education classes for real estate. Personal goal is healthier habit. Losing weight will be a bonus. And then for character, I have represent God in the world.
That's really good. Okay, so only thing that I would ask y'all to do is make sure you put a time on it. So when do you want to achieve it by? So by the end of this year, or like, so like on my birthday is December 31st. So I always write my goals down for the year on my birthday since it's the last day of the year. So I would just say make sure you put a time on it so you can say, hey, I got 3 months to get this right. So, but I appreciate you sharing. So one of my goals, as far as personal, I just want to honestly build my personal brand outside of work and career. So that way that I can always branch off and not need a company or anything to, back me. So that's a big goal I'm working on, and I want to achieve that. It's not going to happen in 6 months, but I want to be in a well-established place by 6 months. So that's one of mine. And I appreciate you guys sharing. So the reason I said goals are important is because one of my biggest goals was to play college football. That was really a big part of my identity, middle school and high school. As you can see, an old picture I found up there. It's about 10 years ago now. But I had 2 shoulder surgeries in high school, my freshman year and my junior year. So if any of you know about recruiting, your junior year is pivotal. And I missed my entire season. And it was gut-wrenching. I had surgery. My dad can tell you I was crying. My mom can tell you I was crying. Just to see your team, that's why I say it's important to have a team. Just to see your team, you show up to the games in the sling, can't do anything. They're like, man, we need you out there. And I was sobbing because it's like, you never get those moments back, but you can help the team, but it's like, now I got to change my whole plan. So the lesson in that is when the plan you build your identity around disappears, you find out faster whether your goals were about the sport or about who the sport was building you into. So the discipline, the teamwork, the drive, none of that got surgically removed, but that's what I carried into what came next. So, another one of my goals, big on goals. I'm a Tar Heel fan. I see a Tar Heel shirt. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to go to UNC. I felt like I did everything right to get into UNC. And when I remember getting rejected by UNC at 18, I was coming from basketball practice. I went to my mom's part-time job, H&R Block, and my dad was on the phone, and my mom was by the computer. I was opening the decision, and it was like, sorry, you're not admitted. And I was crying. I don't know anybody that cries over school, but that's just one of my goals that I always wanted. I'm still a Carolina fan to this day, but it kind of lit a fire inside of me. It was like, well, I'm going to make it without you. So my whole point in saying that is you're going to have things that you take years to achieve, and sometimes it just don't pan out that way. But a closed door isn't proof that you're off track. Sometimes it's proof that the track was never through that door. Every step after this was the exact path I needed. So who knows if I went to Carolina, I probably never would have went to ESPN. Because I felt like I probably would have been comfortable there. So I had to, I'll say the Lord had to take me to a different journey. He had to really see if I wanted what I said I wanted. So just keep that in mind when you get the no. It's not always the rejection, it's just delayed redirection. So,
Preach.
Fast forward to my last day of high school. So, like I told you, being a good kid, man, school, church, practice, repeat, community service, all this. I always wanted to graduate with high honors. I told you I graduated 3.9, but I didn't get my 3.9 until the very last day of high school. So, I remember finishing exams, and my guidance counselor, I always had a good, relationship with my guidance counselor. She called our house at like 8 o'clock, because we had to go for like seniors. You had to get ready for your cap and gown and all that stuff. So she called, and she was hysterical. My mom was like, hold on, let me get Tony. I don't know what's going on. So she put on speaker. She was like, "Hey, Tony." They call me Tony. When you know me, they call me Tony. She was like, "Hey, you did it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "You got your 3.9. Your grades came back." And I don't know about you guys, but it's just the little things that got me to that point. Being on time every day, sitting in the front of the class, not the back, and asking questions. A lot of y'all in school now, sitting in the front, they're gonna see your face, they're gonna know who you are. So I was 2 points away from getting a 3.9. I didn't have to do anything extra. She was like, "Well, you're always on time, you sit in the front, you ask questions, you're good in my book." So with that being said, it's the little things that matter that get you to where you need to go. That's why I said the little goals got me to ESPN, not having the goal of getting to ESPN. So I just want you to notice that the little things add up. And I would like to play this. I only have one video on this, and it's by Michelle Obama. I think it's fitting for our climate today of overcoming struggle, if we can get that.
When you are struggling and you start thinking about giving up, I want you to remember
And if you don't have the video, you can just play the audio.
when you are struggling and you start thinking about giving up, I want you to remember the power of hope, the belief that something better is always possible if you're willing to work for it and fight for it. Our hope that if we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, then we can be whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations that others may place on us. When you are struggling and you start thinking
Thank you. So the reason I wanted to display Michelle Obama, first of all, her words were impactful, because no matter what you go, you're going to go through struggle at some point in your life, whether you're 10, whether you're 100 years old, there's going to be a struggle. But I also wanted to highlight her as our first lady. I don't know how in tune you all are with the sports landscape, but a UFC fighter made it his business to call her a man on live TV. So I wanted to highlight her in my presentation today to show that for all the black girls in here, black women, you can do anything you put your mind to. So overcoming struggle is a big thing in our community because we didn't always have the upper hand. So I think it's important that we tell our kids that, and that we know that sometimes a setback is just better because it'll make you enjoy it more than when it's handed to you. So next icebreaker I want you guys to do is a turn and talk. So for 60 seconds, turn to the person next to you, and I want you to talk about a time something didn't go your way, whether it's like a tryout, a test, or a friendship, or one thing that set you back. One thing that set you back, taught you, and even still stings a little bit. So you have about 60 seconds to do that. Starting now.
Credit cards, because you got the box.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the junior right there.
Sam.
I went to school with your grandfather. We were in the same class. He's a nice guy.
Thank you.
Presentation's great. I might pay you. You did good.
All right, we'll cap it right there. So the purpose of that icebreaker was to show you that you're not alone, like the first icebreaker, and also that we need a team because we can't do it by ourselves. So I hope you learned something about the person you're beside. And for me, what stings still is still not getting into Carolina. But you know, it's been almost 10 years now, but it still stings. And I'll just talk about it just to let people know, like, just don't let one thing define who you are. So I appreciate y'all participating. Actually, I didn't get accepted to grad school in Carolina either. So yeah, I don't know. It must not meant to be, but it's okay. So that leads me to my my next slide. Learning that I was an at-risk kid. By this point, I was at East Carolina. This was my last week of undergrad, and for journalism majors, they make you take like a teaching class or something about teaching. Since you're going to be talking to all kinds of people, whether it's adults or kids. And my professor, she put this chart on the board, and you know, I didn't know I was an at-risk kid. I didn't feel like it, but so I sat there reading, and I said, I never once thought to myself, and it kind of changed how I look at things. I'm not going to read all of them, but mine was, even though I had both of my parents, they never lived in the same household. So being a single parent household during your 8th grade year, that is a pivotal year because you're going into high school, you're impressionable, you're really trying to find out who you are. You're going to a new school where in 8th grade you were the top dog, now you're in 9th grade, you got to start all over again. So I didn't realize that, but I said, there's only 2 things that you can do if you are an at-risk kid. And for me, it didn't change the way I looked at my life, but it changed the way it kind of motivated me. So 2 ways to react. You can either sulk, you can let a label decide your story, use at risk as an excuse to lower the bar, coast, or just check out because of things are hard for me. That road feels justified, but it leads to nowhere. Get motivated. Let the label become information, not your identity. Use it to double down on the goal setting, the discipline, and the faith that you already got this far. This road is harder, but it's also the only one that led me to ESPN. So, you may be an at-risk kid, or you just may be finding out today, but it doesn't. I'll tell you, I was shocked because it didn't feel like it always had my parents there for me. But what they label as at risk, I just looked at it and I said, well, I got this far, I'm gonna keep going. So the purpose of that is if you realize that you're at risk, don't think about it as a derogatory thing, just use it as motivation. So I wanted to harp on, it's okay to be the good kid. It's okay. You don't need a rebellious face to have a good story. Doing homework, staying home, respecting your parents, none of that makes you born or fake. The good kid path is quieter, not easier, so protect it. I'm gonna say I was a good kid. I tried to be a good kid. You can ask them that. I was a good kid, tried to be a good kid the whole way through, and exactly what put me in the room at ESPN. Being good on purpose is still a bold choice. We all have choices to make. You can make bad choices or you can make good choices. And a lot of times the good choice is harder to make because of the people around you. So you always got to evaluate your circle. If peer pressuring you to do things, it's always okay to say no. It's always good to be different. I've had to do it my whole life. And honestly, it was some of the best decisions I made. So it's okay to be a good kid. Don't let nobody tell you different. I won homecoming king as a good kid. I was one of the most popular kids at my school. And I was able to talk to anybody, anywhere, whether you had a learning deficiency whether you play sports with me, whether you was in a band, chess. Everybody knew me because I was a good kid. So it's okay to be that. So, staying away from drugs and alcohol. The part of being a good kid, part of being a good person. I've never had a drop of alcohol or touched any drugs. Not now, not ever. And I'll tell you, every setback I've had to this point, grief, surgery, rejection letters, I had to fully feel them, had to fully grow from them, and drugs and alcohol do not remove that pain. They just postpone it with interest. So, a clear head, clear goals. Every decision in this talk needed a clear mind to make. It's not about willpower alone. It's about building a life, teams, faith, music, purpose. That can be your escape. Don't let drugs or alcohol or anybody peer pressure you to do those things and say, hey man, or hey girl, let's do this. We had a hard week. Let's smoke this weed. Let's do all that. You don't have to do that. You just pray, go to the gym, go hoop, do what you need to do, but don't put none of that stuff in your body if you can help it. So, next icebreaker.
Oh, Lord.
On my count, so we're gonna go from fist to 5. How confident do you feel saying no to peer pressure right now? 0 to 5. You can raise my. There's no wrong answer. So if you held up a low number, that's real. That's exactly why I do this. So we can practice saying no. So we can practice saying no. So when you're in that situation, you'll be able to say, no, man, I don't need to do this. Or let's let me go home. It don't feel right. So I just want you guys to know that peer pressure is a real thing. Grown, kids, adults, whatever you are, there's always peer pressure. But you can always say no, and always stand firm, even if you have to stand by yourself. That's what my dad always told me. Even if you have to stand alone, stand firm. Don't change who you are for nobody. So, moving on to grad school. At this time, I graduated ECU, my journalism degree. I was going to go straight into the workforce, but I felt like I wanted to add another degree to my resume. So I applied to East Carolina, and I got in, but I had to take a GRE. And a GRE is like a standardized test that you would take EOGs or something like that. And for me, being in journalism, communications, I hadn't taken math in like 4 years. So in order to get into grad school, I had to take a GRE test twice, and I was put on probation, academic probation, because my math score was low. And mind you, I just graduated from East Carolina with 3.8 GPA. I'm like, so y'all gonna do me like this? So it was a rough time because I was like, man, I felt some type of way, but I understand the protocol. So I had to have a 3.0 GPA in my first semester, which I was like, okay. And I couldn't apply for any scholarships. So in the midst of that, my grandmother was back and forth in the hospital. And that was tough. That was tough because that's just my grandma. I loved her to life. But just seeing your grandparents, your parents experiencing different things. You're away at school, then they're telling you you have to do certain things. So what I ended up with a 4.0, and not because I'm great, it's because my faith stayed strong. I didn't want to prove anybody wrong. I wanted to prove myself right. And I knew I belonged there regardless. So anytime people try to limit you, always go above and beyond, because honestly it feels better for me knowing that I can prove myself right instead of proving you wrong. So that's a big thing in life. People are gonna try to limit you. Don't let anybody put a limit on you. So keeping God first. Every chapter I walked through today, the grief, the surgeries, the rejection, the probation, the chart, I didn't walk through alone. Faith was the constant thread underneath all of it. Not as a decoration on top of my goals, but as the foundation. The reason that the setbacks never got the final word. So, whatever your faith looks like today, or whatever you're still trying to figure out, build your goals on something bigger than yourself or your given mood on any day. And I can attest to this. Keeping God first allowed me to go places I never thought I would be, meet people that I never thought I would meet. Are you guys familiar with the Las Vegas Raiders, the football team? So their president is a black woman, and I got to interview her a couple months ago, and she connected with me. She was like, "Hey, if you're ever in Las Vegas, let's do something." So it's like
Take me.
the Las Vegas Raiders. That's one of the most, I would say, the most impactful NFL franchises, and to have a black woman leading that and willing to pull another black young person up, that's a big thing. That's a part of building your team. So I want you to know, if without God, none of that would happen. So, fun fact, I was going to be an attorney or a broadcaster, so I chose both, and then I chose one. Like I said, played the drums. I played 3 sports, 2 summer internships in undergrad, 1 in law and 1 in sports media. And then the hardest season of my life hit, which was COVID. And I'm sure all of you can attest, COVID, being in grad school during COVID was a crazy time. Went to school and then they was like, "Hey, you're not coming back." So, doing classes online, figuring out, are you going to be healthy? How can I do this without getting sick? Then you have the George Floyd incident that happens. Then you have, loved ones passing away. So it was just a lot going on. And then my grandmother died. So that was one of the hardest seasons of my life, but it was also the one that, allowed ESPN to know who I was. During COVID, I saw on LinkedIn one of the girls that worked there. She was posting about her job or whatever, so I just reached out. You never know until you reach out. I was like, "Hey, I'm about to graduate in a few months. I would love to work at ESPN." I sent her my resume and stuff like that. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna pass your name along to someone." So that's about building your team. You can't get anywhere by yourself. So she never passed my name. They might not know who I was. So fast forward 2 months before graduation, I get a call. "Hey man, this is such and such for ESPN. We heard good things about you." I was like, "Well, it's good." I was in shock. I was walking from class. I was like, "Well, it's nice to meet you too. Anything you need from me, just let me know." He said, "Hey, just let me know when you graduate and we'll talk." So I graduated in 2021 May. July of 2021, I had a job at ESPN. So the reason I say this is never be afraid to shoot your shot with anything. And all those little steps like internships, like my dad made me go in and turn in my resume to a local news station. If I never did that, I would have never got the TV experience to, hey, I have this on my resume to do. Just showing up, listening to your parents, and keeping God first. And part of how I got to where I am is being myself in every room. So whether I'm in the locker room, funeral home, grad school, office hours, or the ESPN studio, I always showed up as me. And there's so many people in this world you can be, so be yourself. There is only one you. Nobody can do what you can do. So make sure that when you step into these rooms, whether it's your football field, your classrooms, always be yourself. Never, and my biggest thing was I was going to make it to where I need to make it without having to change who I was. So I want you to take stock in that. Be yourself always and forever. And if you know you got to grow, then grow. But don't let nobody just tell you, "Hey, you need to do this." Just figure it out on your own. It takes time. But listen to your parents. Listen to your parents. Listen to your parents. I've been listening. I still listen. I'm 29 years old, and they still tell me something every day. So you're never too old to listen to your parents. So hopefully, what I hope you carry out of this is, 1, to set real goals, because time isn't guaranteed. Adversity doesn't ask permission. Respond, just don't survive. The little things decide the big things. Stay clear-headed, protect your comeback. It's okay to be the good kid. A label isn't your identity, it's information. Be yourself in every room and keep God first. And the last icebreaker I want you guys to do, pull that goal out that you wrote down earlier. Underneath it, write one word for who you want to become while you're chasing it. And for example, do you want to be disciplined, faithful, focused, or finding yourself? So I'll give you 30 seconds for that.
You want to be what?
Write one word that you want to become while you're chasing your goal. Okay, so on the count of 3, I want you to hold it up and shout your word. 1, 2, 3.
Grounded.
Okay, so I want you to keep that word somewhere you'll see it, whether it's on a sticky note in your phone, you write it on your mirror. That'll be a reminder of the hard days and the promise that they're coming and you're ready for whatever that comes your way. And that is all I have. Appreciate you guys inviting me. Keep the goal, keep God first, keep me and you in every room. And here's how you can contact me. I'm not bougie. You can reach out if you have questions. I don't aspire to be one of those type of people. So anything I can do to help, I'm here while I'm here. So that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, let's give him another round of applause. Great message that all of us could get something from. I have my goal, and I'm determined to reach retirement, so that's what I put down. And I'll be working on it. It is time focused and it is specific. So I challenge all of the youth to do that too. So I have my goal. But what we want to do is open up for some for Q&A and question and answers. See if anyone has any questions to ask of him. I want to know more about the awards, and I know some of the youth do too, but anyone that wants to ask any questions, and let's take advantage of having him here with us. Who has a question? Don't be shy.
So I heard you say that you played the drums. Did you ever think of like taking your music career professionally? Like have you ever tried it or thought about it? If you did, do you know how to make that like professional or make it more like wider known?
Okay.
You need a microphone.
Appreciate the question. For me personally, I never wanted to play music professionally. That was my dad. He plays like 20 instruments, so that was his thing. That was our way of connecting and just building discipline and stuff like that. It was like a father and son thing. So for me, no, I never wanted to do music professionally. But I feel like at this point with social media, which I'm streaming right now on Twitch, so with social media, if you post yourself playing, practicing, build a fan base, stuff like that, you never know who comes across your videos, so that could be your way to go professionally. And he can add, because I'm not into music.
Tony's down the floor.
I would say, I've seen the landscape of music change for the last 30 years. Like you said, you can do social media and everything else, but the drawback with social media is, do you really have your skills up to par? If you were to step outside the room, what do you sound like compared to putting everything with it on social media? So I would say, develop, if you play piano, you play drums, whatever you play, develop your basic skills on that instrument, so whatever room you walk in, you don't have to worry about anybody putting you down or trying to put you in a place or just talking about you where you can't back up what you're doing. So to help you get somewhere, I would say it's hard these days. It's harder than it was 20 years ago. So develop your social media, like you said, but also develop your skills on that instrument.
Next question. Well, I'll ask one. Can you talk to us about the awards?
Okay, so yeah, I left that out on purpose because I didn't want it to be the main thing, but I did win 4 Emmys at ESPN. So the gold one you see is for my role on Sports Center at night. Can't remember which one. One of those is for my role on the U.S. Open, and then one is for my role when I helped produce Home Run Derby for MLB. So all those, Emmy is like the highest award you can win in TV. And I know some people that been there 20 years, nominated but never won. So for me to be there only 4 years and won 4 is a big accomplishment.
What's MLB? People don't know those initials.
When you say U.S. Open, you talking tennis or golf?
Tennis. So tennis, I didn't know much about tennis, going into it, but I learned a lot. It was like, so you're producing a whole show. So you're there from start to finish, all the matches, so you can be there 14 hours. Then you rotate with your other peers, but you're creating highlights, you're writing transcripts for the talent, you're watching every game, and you have to roll things quickly. So say Serena just wins right now, okay, Serena's about to be interviewed, we need to go to her right now. So it can get hectic, but it's definitely fun. We always say it's not brain surgery, we doing TV. Because some people will be too deep into it, so it's like, we're doing TV, your skills should be up to par where you can do it live, but it's okay. But it was a fun experience. I learned a lot about tennis. Don't really prefer tennis, but I learned it.
I was just wondering, what set you apart from everyone else? Like, whoever been there 20 years and you got it in 4 years. So, what did you do different from everyone else?
That's a good question. I don't really have I did this. I would just say, like I said earlier, just being yourself in every room you go into. I tried to add value to any show I was on, so they know that, like I said, being on time, being ready, being accountable, those things matter. And I feel like when you have those people on your team, like, your production value goes up, the type of work you do goes up, and the people that vote on these things notice that. You can tell when it's just put together or when it's been worked on properly.
You had mentioned that you had a path of sports journalism or I think attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
What field of law were you interested in?
So I did teen court when I was in high school, and I wanted to be a defense attorney. So I interned with Antoine Whitby, law office Antoine Whitby. It's also one of my mentors, one of the Black-owned in Johnson County. And I was doing that in teen court, and you start to see, your teammates getting in trouble, and you're having to defend them, or you couldn't pick what you wanted to do every week. So sometimes I had to prosecute somebody I knew. Sometimes I had to defend somebody I knew. Sometimes I was on the jury, somebody I knew. So I was like, I don't know if I could do this every day. And then I wanted to, as I grew, I wanted to see more about it. So I took the internship, and he was being funny, but I had to dress up in a suit the first day, and he took me to the jail, and I saw people I knew, and I said, I can't do this. So yeah, it was, and then you have to defend people that may be guilty, or you have to defend people that are innocent and they still go to jail. And I didn't want people's life in my hands that way.
I think it'd be beneficial if you explain what teen court and how teen court is set up. When you say I was a prosecutor, I was a defendant, how that was set up.
So teen court it's for juveniles. So people that are interested in the career path, you sign up, and then they'll reach out to your parents, and you have a defense attorney, you have a prosecutor, you have someone that acts as a bailiff, you have jury of your peers that are in high school, and every 2 weeks they have court, and these are real crimes that people do, but it's not at a level of they have to go to the big court. So if they're young enough, they'll send them to teen court, and they'll trial you in front of your peers, and it always ends up being community service, having to write an essay, making sure you're not tardy for school, stuff like that. So I chose to do defense attorney. I chose to do prosecuting, and it was tough because these are kids, but you're also a kid. And it's like, man, it's a wake up call because like this could be for real. So I don't know if that explained it better, but it's like
All of
seeing.
Johnston County.
It's like seeing. I don't want to put that on anybody. It was like seeing one of my teammates stole something from the Nike store. Instead of sending him to the big judge, he gets sent to teen court, and we'll try him and say, find him guilty or is he not guilty, whatever. This is your punishment. Essay could be 5 pages. I've seen one was like 20 pages, and you had to do 30 hours community service. Some was like 72, and then if it was a real big crime, but you were too young, they would say the next time you don't get this. So.
You mentioned Whitby as your mentor for attorney. Who's your, do you have a mentor for your sports journalism?
So my mentors for sports were people like, I don't know if you guys remember Tom Suter. Yeah, so
Everybody knows Tom
Yeah,
Suter.
so that was one of my mentors that I could physically talk to. Other people that I looked up to was like Stuart Scott, the Stephen A's, the real journalists that talk about sport and not just opinion-based things. So I would say Tom Suter was a big thing of saying, hey man, if you can have this reach locally, what can you do worldwide? So.
Tell him about his last show.
Oh, and for Tom Suter's last show, I was supposed to get the extra effort award in high school, but snow and all that stuff kind of derailed it. So he knew that I wanted to do like sports broadcasting, so he invited me to the studio for his last show. And he showed me like how he wrote all his highlights, how he would get all the video done, going to all these high schools around the county, and then I gave him a tie, and he wore it on his last show to close out his career. So that was like a big thing for me to see it in motion and like, hey, I can do this. So.
Do you still have goals that you need to achieve, having done so much so soon?
Yeah, I always got goals. I got goals right now. Like I told y'all, I wanted to build my own personal brand outside of any company. I want to be in a position one day where my parents don't have to work.
Woo!
I want to
Woo! Get a quickness on that.
One of my biggest goals is to eventually like own a homeless shelter one day. I already have a name picked out for it and all that. So I don't know. As a kid, when I see people out there, I like to try to help. So I think opening up a homeless shelter, once I finish hopefully I'm not finished with my career, but during my career, I can do that and put it back in Johnston County.
Tell them how you interacted with the homeless when you lived in Bristol. Not Bristol, but Hartford.
Okay, so for you guys that don't know, ESPN is in Connecticut. So I had to move 10 hours away from family on my own. And I don't know if you've ever been to Connecticut or heard about Connecticut. It's very close to New York, but it's not the South at all. Like, people are very different in Connecticut. You know how we say, yes sir, no ma'am, or hold the door. Every time I did it, they're like, where are you from? So the reason I say I want to open a homeless shelter because around this time, people were breaking into cars very, very much, like the Kia boys, stealing cars, stealing your rims, stealing your tires, all that stuff. And I worked on SportsCenter at night, and those shifts were late, so like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I would come home, I lived in downtown, and it'd be a slew of homeless people. And I would always, speak to them, help, if I had something to help them. And all these cars were getting broken into, the rims were getting taken, but they always looked out for mine. Nobody ever touched my car. Every time I went out there, they was like, hey man, you good. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I like to help people, because it makes me feel good, but you also never know what that leads to.
What has helped you stay grounded through your rise of success and being in, I'm sure you've been in rooms with a lot of important people that we would be like, wow, like what has kept you grounded in that whole process?
I would say just showing up as myself. I felt like I was supposed to be there. I always joke with my friends, they're like, hey, you met such and such. I was like, no, they met me. So That's how I look at it. Not like in a cocky way. It's just like these are human beings as well. But how I stay grounded is just knowing that it's bigger than me. I have people in my life still that, hey, we're rooting for you, checking on you. Miss Linda, I was in Connecticut. She would say, I ain't heard from you in a little bit. She'll text me or she'll call me. So it's always been bigger than me. My grandmother, she basically died for me to live. I say that in saying she was a kidney. She was on dialysis for like 20 years, most of my life, and she knew I would not leave here with her still being, alive and on dialysis and stuff. So that's part of the reason why I went to grad school as well, because I didn't want to leave. And she sent me a link to ESPN at like 4 a.m. This was in July 2020. She was like, God showed me you there, I can go. So this is before I even applied. I was still in grad school, and that was actually the link I used to get the job at ESPN. But she said, my grandmother, she was never the one to say, if something happens to me, you better keep me alive. That's what she would say. And then one day she just woke up and she was like, I'm good to go. And a year after she died, that's when I moved to Connecticut.
Literally, that date.
I got one more question for you. So when you spoke of not entertaining other substances, alcohol, drugs, and things like that, and maintaining that, especially in the younger high school, college time, address the peer pressure that comes with that and the resistance that comes, like being able, you talk a lot, and I like that about being your person and what that looks like even when you have to say no to those pressures.
Yes, ma'am. So for me, I feel like I just carry myself in a way that I'll be okay if it was 100 people with me or if I was just by myself. So I always told, and also how you carry yourself and how your friends see you, it kind of matters, because I only had to tell my friends once, hey man, I don't do this, so if you're gonna do this, don't invite me and don't be around me when you do it. And they respected that to this day. They don't put me in those type of situations. I don't put myself in those type of situations. I know people still ask me to this day, hey man, do you want to go for drinks? I was like, man, I don't drink. So they'll say, what do you do? I'll say, well, we can go to the gym, we can go home. You don't have to have a drink to have a good time. So I would just say, just stay true to who you are. I know many of your parents say this, you don't have to do drugs. Drugs are not cool. I know people right now that I went to school with that are strung out on drugs, and they were not raised that way. So just think of the consequences, but also be yourself. You can't achieve anything in this life if you are strung out on drugs or alcohol.
Anybody else? Any questions?
When you moved to Connecticut, or like when COVID hit, are there like any times you felt discouraged about pursuing your dreams?
That's a good question. How to get out of here?
You're trying to make me cry out here. Before COVID, I'll say during COVID, my mom was really sick. She was very sick of COVID. So just watching that, having to do school, I'm like, is this gonna happen for me? I'm seeing, you see people, get things that you deserve, and you feel like you deserve those things, but it's not happening for you. So I could definitely say I was kind of discouraged, but I also always felt that I would get there some way, somehow. But being in Connecticut by yourself, 10 hours away from your family, it could be sad, but I knew I was there for a reason. I knew I had certain stuff I needed to do while I was there. So I didn't have time to be discouraged, bro. I didn't have time. So I kept myself busy making friends, playing basketball, stuff like that. So just positive things, so I didn't have time to feel discouraged.
Tell them about your first Thanksgiving in Connecticut.
So to harp on that, been here tea. My first, missed Christmas and Thanksgiving my first year being in Connecticut. So as an only child, that's crazy. And in the South, how we do it. So my mom, she flew to Connecticut with a suitcase full of food, Thanksgiving food, and TSA was stopping her like, what are you doing, lady? But it's just to show you, like, your parents, like, if you're doing the right thing, they can always have your back. So whether I'm 10 hours away or 10 minutes away, I can call both of them, regardless of what's going on. They're going to find a way to get to me. So
I'm going to grow some wings.